Walk down the bread aisle of any modern supermarket, and you are entirely surrounded by a grand biological illusion. Wheat sits neatly arranged on the shelves, wrapped in bright plastic and boasting claims of health and whole-grain goodness. Is no longer the foundational staple that sustained human civilization for 10,000 years. We have systematically deconstructed and altered the biological matrix of wheat, transforming it from a living, fermented source of nourishment into an ultra-processed delivery vehicle for industrial chemicals and refined carbohydrates. For millennia, bread was the product of three simple ingredients: water, milled grain, and wild microbes. This slow, deliberate process of natural fermentation was a profound biochemical necessity. Wildy yeast and bacteria predigested complex proteins, broke down anti-nutrients, and released a wealth of bioavailable minerals that the human digestive system could seamlessly absorb. Modern industrial processing initiated a devastating separation between human digestion and mass production. The turning point arrived with the steel roller mill, which allowed the food industry to surgically strip away the nutrient-dense germ and bran from the wheat kernel, leaving only starchy endosperm. This pure white flour was highly stable, pest-resistant, and completely devoid of vital lipids, vitamins, and fibers. In the post-war era, the demand for extreme efficiency led to accelerated baking technologies. This approach entirely skipped the crucial biological step of slow fermentation, replacing time and microbial labor with intense mechanical force. Synthetic oxidizers and dough conditioners, modern industrial bread is no longer fermented, it is chemically inflated. When consuming a slice of mass-market bread, you ingest an intricate architecture of EMULSI-FIRS, such as mono and diglycol eridae or DATM, deployed to artificially bind water and fat, mimicking the moist texture of a fresh loaf for weeks on end. While these synthetic EMULSI-FIRS perform brilliantly on factory floors, their interaction with human biology is catastrophic. EMERGING research reveals that industrial EMULSI-FIRS act much like commercial detergents within the human gastrointestinal tract. The Y slowly dissolve and erode the delicate mucosal lining, protecting the intestinal wall, stripping away the critical barrier separating our internal bloodstream from gut bacteria. This chronic erosion facilitates increased intestinal permeability or leaky gut syndrome, where undigested food particles, microbial toxins, and synthetic additives breach the barrier, triggering a relentless systemic inflammatory response. This silent inflammation is heavily implicated as a primary driver of autoimmune disorders, metabolic syndrome, and chronic digestive issues. The deception deepens when consumers reach for products marketed as whole wheat or multi-grain, which are often the same refined, chemically inflated dough, darkened with caramel coloring. This reconstructed whole wheat bypasses slow bacterial fermentation. The seed's natural defense mechanisms remain fully intact. Wheat bran is naturally loaded with phytic acid, a powerful anti-nutrient that aggressively binds to essential minerals like zinc, iron, calcium, and magnesium, forming insoluble complexes that the body cannot absorb. In traditional sourdough baking, the prolonged acidic environment created by lactic acid bacteria neutralizes phytic acid, unlocking the mineral wealth of the grain. Industrial whole wheat bread acts as a mineral thief, stripping the body of micronutrients while delivering a massive spike of readily absorbed glucose. The glycemic impact of modern ultra-processed bread is often indistinguishable from consuming pure table sugar. Unprotected by intact cellular structures, the refined starch matrix instantly converts to glucose upon contact with saliva, flooding the bloodstream and provoking a violent surge of insulin from the pancreas. The RMO agricultural practices supplying raw materials introduce an entirely separate layer of profound biological risk. The pursuit of maximum yield has led to widespread reliance on chemical desiccation, where systemic herbicides like glyphosate are sprayed directly onto wheat crops days before harvest to force uniform drying. This allows for hyper-efficient mechanical harvesting, but it ensures significant residues of chemical weed killer are absorbed directly into the core of the grain. surviving the high temperatures of the baking oven Wien consumed. These herbicide residues act as potent antimicrobial agents in the human gut, selectively devastating beneficial bacteria that govern immune responses and metabolic health while allowing pathogenic strains to flourish unchecked. The convergence of toxic agricultural residues, synthetic EMU-LSI-5RS, extreme glycemic loads, and the absence of natural fermentation represents a complete inversion of what food is meant to be. The texture and flavor profiles of ultra-processed loaves are equally engineered to exploit human evolutionary biology. For hundreds of thousands of years, the human sensory apparatus evolved in an environment of caloric scarcity, programming our brains to seek soft textures, easily digestible carbohydrates, and sudden sugar spikes. The modern food industry has weaponized this programming, utilizing complex rheological testing to dial in the exact combination of refined starches, synthetic sweeteners, and hidden sodium to create hyper-palatable products that override natural satiety signals. Eating soft, slightly sweet industrial bread, it essentially melts in the mouth, requiring minimal mastic ATI on thigh-s. Rapid dissolution triggers a sudden release of dopamine in the brain. Reward centers before the digestive system can signal fullness, ensuring consumers easily overeat without feeling genuinely nourished. To break free from this profitable cycle of metabolic degradation, consumers must fundamentally redefine their relationship with bread, shifting their understanding away from marketing claims toward raw biochemistry and microbial fermentation. True bread is a living, dynamic ecosystem. A genuine loaf requires only flour, water, and salt, brought to life by wild cultures. The moment a label introduces unpronounceable chemical compounds, vital gluten, synthetic vitamins, or rapid commercial yeasts, the product has crossed into the realm of ultra-processed food. Authentic sourdough fermentation alters the molecular structure of the grain. Lactic acid bacteria transform protein networks, dramatically reducing specific gluten peptides that trigger digestive distress, making properly fermented bread far easier to digest while naturally lowering its glycemic index. The physical characteristics of real bread also defy industrial standards. It boasts a deeply caramelized crust containing complex flavor compounds absent in pale, mass-produced loaves. The interior crumb is irregular, featuring varied air pockets that map the respiration patterns of wild yeast. Beccaos authentic bread is free of synthetic preservatives. It is naturally perishable. Consumers can easily manage this aging process by slicing a fresh loaf and storing it in the freezer. Subjected to heat in a toaster or skillet, the bread restores its crisp texture, while retrograding a portion of the carbohydrates into resistant starch. Thigh-specific starch resists digestion in the small intestine, passing intact into the colon where it serves as a premium prebiotic food source for the microbiome, producing short-chain fatty acids that actively reduce systemic inflammation and fortify the gut barrier. Reclimin Health begins with recognizing that industrial convenience comes at the cost of physiological resilience.